your mindset around what's going on in your biology can completely affect the symptoms that you're feeling during this stage of life.
I always say menopause is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You can suffer if you want to be a martyr, that's fine, but you have to know that we have solutions.
It just depends on how you approach it.
Exactly. You can take it as a challenge. You can say it's a chance to better myself. How can I improve my health? What can I do? We can escape the symptoms and the signs, and some of us are just without any effort.
So what are some of the top things that women can do that could help them through this stage and decrease their symptoms and improve their outcome from it? Welcome to the Extend podcast, and I have a really interesting guest, Zora, here today from the Hack My Age podcast and Instagram page and all the other things that you do, Zora. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. Someone, especially a male, is interested in menopause.
Yeah, I've dedicated our podcast be half female guests and half female topics. Because, a lot of the podcasts I listen to in the medical field and the health and longevity field, it's kind of like a bros club. It's very male dominated. So half my patients are female. So I figure I need to speak to them as well.
Yeah. And half your guests. I've been binge listening to your podcast. Love the Mindy Peltz one. Awesome. 2 thumbs up. And so your guests are actually, maybe 50% female.
Yeah, that's what we're aiming for, 50% on the female sides. I feel, and this is certainly a topic we've had on the podcast many times, is that menopause is an area of medicine that has been ignored for a very, very long time. I mean, it's a natural process that women go through, but it doesn't have to be so debilitating and so it's so difficult for women because they really have never had a chance to really talk about it or a platform for it. And also, I do feel like, with the current stress levels, current levels of toxic exposure, and also current levels of just, being exposed to less activity or diets, I feel like the actual symptoms of menopause have actually worsened over time. And a lot of my colleagues say the same things. And so I know there's a lot there where menopause and overall health are so tied together, right? And you mentioned Mindy Peltz earlier. She's a big believer that menopause should actually be a part of a woman's life that actually leads to bigger and better things, right? It shouldn't be something that's viewed upon negatively. So I'm just wondering your perspective on that. How has menopause changed over the last 50 to 80 years?
Oh, yeah. Well, we are just at the tip of the iceberg of researching it and learning more about it. Unfortunately, and like you said, it hasn't been studied. People don't take women, period, very often, not all the time, but most of the time they don't want to deal with women because of periods and pregnancy and of course menopause. So we really need more research. So I think it is coming. We are starting to have a voice and starting to be comfortable with the conversation as well. So it is getting there. But as I mentioned earlier to you off camera, that I am a nomad and I interview women all around the world. And I just literally stop them on the street, ask them 5 questions about menopause, turn them into a 1-minute reel for my social media. And it is amazing, all the different experiences that we have. And unfortunately, menopause is still a stigma and menopause needs a rebranding. And I think absolutely it should be a rebirth, a transformation, a time in our life. This should be the best years of our lives. And it can be, and it's a moment. It's a chance to reinvent ourselves, a chance to better our health and to really, really have an incredible second or third half of your life, whatever you want to call it. Because when you think about women going through menopause and perimenopause, that we spend a third of their lives in menopause, right? And that's a very, very important thing to consider.
Right. Absolutely. You have a lot of videos on your social media at Hack My Age. That's the handle. And a lot of videos where you're interviewing women from all over the world in menopause or going through perimenopause. What have you learned through these videos and traveling the world and how menopause is thought of maybe differently in different societies?
So yes, I've learned that all women will go through menopause. We're not getting away with anything. Maybe we can delay it.
You haven't found one that was able to escape it?
Haven't met one yet. I haven't met one yet. However, we can escape the symptoms and the signs. And some of us are just without any effort, just that's the way we're genetically programmed. And I have met a lot of women who say, well, I didn't go through menopause, and she's 65. And I said, well, wait a second. Do you have your periods anymore? Nope. Well, then you are in menopause. Well, I didn't feel anything. And so what they're saying is they haven't had the signs and symptoms of probably about 4 or 5 that they know of, which is the stopping the periods, a hot flash, maybe some sleep disturbances and mood swings. That's all they really know. They don't realize there are 103 symptoms of menopause that happen. Plus, there are things that are happening under the hood. So I always worry about the asymptomatic woman because she's not likely to go to the doctor, not likely to check her heart, not likely to check her bones, thinking everything's fine until she gets a fracture and then winds up in the hospital. And that's we call the silent killer. So you haven't gotten away with anything just because you haven't felt anything. So I try to stress that. But women around the world, they will all have something that they're going through, and they may feel it more, they may feel it less. But what I've do notice, because I've interviewed women from Thailand, I've interviewed them from Vietnam, from Portugal, from Spain, from France, from the US, Canada, not every country in the world, but I've done over 200 interviews. And I find that the attitude towards menopause can be different than people in, say, North America. And I see differences in socioeconomic levels as well. So when I ask women around the world, or at least some of the Eastern countries, how is their menopause? What's it like? They're like, well, I don't know. I had some hot flashes. It was a hard time. And like, it's okay. It's not that bad. It's kind of what they expect, but even though they don't speak to their mothers, it's kind of universal. No one has spoken to their mothers really about menopause, or their mothers have not warned them or told them anything. That's pretty universal. I'm
Wow.
saddened to say. But the attitude is interesting. And I find that when I ask a woman who's selling fruit on the street in Thailand, she kind of looks at me like, why are you even asking me this? Like, I really don't care. I have got bigger fish to fry. And she's just trying to make a living. She needs to feed her family somehow. And dealing with this is just not at the top of her list. Now, whether that's right or wrong is debatable, but I find that more women around as we get closer to the West or in Europe, they're more excited to talk about it and to share and to say, hey, this is what's been happening. And I've also noticed that women who seem to have higher socioeconomic levels, I can't really say, I don't really know these people, they seem to be more educated about menopause, know that there are solutions. Whereas, but I have met plenty of women who have higher socioeconomic levels. They don't know either. But if I were to say one, it's a little bit skewed that way. But yeah, they're different attitudes. The experience, the research has shown, at least, this is not my own research. This is just research that's been published, that women who have a supportive community, who have a supportive spouse, or who have people they can speak to, they report fewer symptoms. They seem to have a better transition. And when you look at other research that shows in how was I going to say? Oh, Dr. Becca Levy. I'm not sure if you know her. She's a gerontologist, very famous gerontologist who looked at aging around the world. And so what she's done, she's asked people around the world, how do you feel about aging? And she found out those who had positive attitudes towards aging lived 7.5 years longer, right? They weren't fearing it. They just embraced it. And I always wonder, well, if we were to repeat this study with women in menopause, if you had a better attitude, would we have a better transition or not?
Oh.
And not to say, some women are suffering with every single symptom around the sun, and it's very intense. It's really hard to have a good attitude, but there are solutions. And I always say menopause is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You can suffer if you want to be a martyr. That's fine. but you have to know that we have solutions. There's so much that we can do to make this transition easier. And then, of course, protect our future selves.
Wow. It's so powerful. Like your mindset around what's going on in your biology can completely affect the symptoms that you're feeling during this stage of life, right? And so that's a really powerful statement, I think, is getting into that mindset of this is a positive thing versus something that it's negative, that you need to be sad that you're going through it, because you're going to go through it no matter what. It just depends on how you approach it.
Exactly. Exactly. You
Right.
can take it as a challenge. You can say it's a chance to better myself. How can I improve my health? What can I do? Because taking the steps that you speak of all the time, improving your health, that's more likely to help your menopausal symptoms. And
Mhm.
why not? Why not make that choice now?
Yeah, yeah. So what are some of the top things that women can do? Maybe top three things that you could think of that women should consider that maybe most people don't normally consider that could help them through this stage and decrease their symptoms and improve their outcome from it.
Well, I'm a big fan of hormone therapy, bioidentical. So I did went through the Institute of Bioidentical Medicine. So I understand the benefits. And I do see in my community how much it can help. Hormones are good. Hormones are beneficial. We're thriving when we were full of them. And once we lose them, we have issues, we have problems, we have accelerated aging. So we can't fear them. We have to understand them. We have to read about them. We have to learn about them, speak to your doctor about them, see if this is a good choice for you or not. But I really think when women go to a doctor, the first question is, what are the risks of taking hormone therapy? Now, I really think you need to turn this around and ask your doctor, what are the risks if I don't take hormone therapy? Not that you should or shouldn't, but let's ask the questions. What's good for me? Is it good for me? Is it not good for me? You know, of course, your doctor has to look at all of your history, but it is definitely something to dig a little deeper because it is so life changing. I've seen it so many times. And when I speak to women who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, still using hormone therapy, they're doing fabulous. they are carrying their hormones to the grave, and so you see how well they're doing. And I think it's yeah, definitely hormone therapy is biohack number one.
I love it.
Uh, Definitely. And biohack number two is kind of the stuff that we know is getting your metabolism right? Getting healthy, get metabolically healthy, whatever, that's for you. You're the one who's actually very good at explaining this, but this is more your diet, your exercise, your lifestyle. Quit smoking, right? Women are afraid of of cancer from hormones, but in fact, the real picture is look at, are you smoking? Are you overweight? This is obesity. This is really the drivers of cancer much more than a hormone. So you have a much greater risk with that. We're still drinking alcohol. We're having wine every night. Like we're not questioning that.
Yeah.
So why not? Why are we questioning the hormone therapy? So please, like, we have to get our liver's been so worked so hard for these 50 years that we're alive that we cannot keep adding more and more toxins to the body. And I'm in Europe. Everyone's drinking wine. Everybody's like having the time of their life. But I think it's time to just take another look. If you're drinking over drinking, or if you know who you are, you know who you are. I'm speaking to. It's time to reconsider because your liver needs to detox the hormones. It needs to detox from all the pollutions that we have around the world. We have so many phytoestrogens as well. Like we can't keep burdening the liver as well. So reconsider the alcohol. So getting metabolically flexible, getting metabolically healthy is hack number two. Does that make sense?
I love that. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you're like saying exactly what I would have said to this question. So you can hear what hack number three is, because I'm wondering if that was also my third hack.
Hack number three has to do with stress. And this is, as a gerontologist as well, when we look at aging and longevity, one of the biggest problems we have is that our reaction to stress, not the stress itself, because stress isn't going away, right? But how our perception is and how we're reacting to it is what counts, because this low grade chronic inflammation is what's driving disease as well. So and it's also a trigger for hot flashes. It's not going to help us through this menopause transition. So managing the stress, but because I'm in the biohacking world, like we love to like gadgets and all these things. I mean, we can first talk about the free stuff, right? Because people are like, oh, what do you do for stress? Okay, meditation, yoga. Well, yeah, it's not my jam. Breath work is so powerful. Learning how to breathe. And I know that you'd be like, well, I don't know, I'm breathing. No, we are over breathers. I've done the training through the Oxygen Advantage. I don't know if you know Patrick McEwen, but it was one of the best programs I ever did. And I just wanted to, learn for myself. But I'm teaching the women in our community how to breathe because it's so practical. It's functional breathing. There's many different types of breath work. I mean, what you do in yoga is great and everything else is great. There's no one that's, better than the other. They all have different purposes. What I learned is functional breathing is how we should be breathing the other 23 hours of the day outside of our yoga class, and how we breathe during the day and how we breathe during exercise is how we're going to breathe also at night. And it's really important how we're breathing at night. It affects the whole system of the body. And it can help us with our menopause transition as well, how we can calm the nervous system in just seconds. And so I highly encourage people you can go on YouTube, you can research, you can find so much free stuff on learning how to breathe. Just do it. And it's the key is to become a nose breather. Our mouth is made for talking and eating, and our nose is made for breathing. It's this amazing filtration system, and it's a lot of cool stuff that happens that I won't get into because we don't have time. But learn how to breathe. That's the free stuff in terms of managing stress. You're nodding your head. I'm assuming you're like a fan of breathing.
I love it. Yes, absolutely. I love the book Breath by James Nestor as well. If anyone is curious about the powerful role that breathing and how we breathe plays in our biology, that's a good book to give you a primer on it. And also the course that you had mentioned as well. But those are awesome hacks. I would add number 4, and this is probably your number 4 as well, is build muscle during this time, right? I mean, I think it's so critical that women emphasize muscle strength and muscle volume over cardio, for example, or being sedentary for sure during this time, because there's never a more important time in life to do this than at that moment of menopause, because if you don't do it, there's an exponential decrease in muscle mass, which leads to the decrease in bone mass. I think we're so focused on osteoporosis and just focus on the bones itself, but the bones are hugely dependent on the muscle stress that's put on them. And so the more you build muscle mass, the healthier your bones will be.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. That's part of our metabolically healthy component because muscle also helps us regulate our blood sugar levels. And as we go through menopause, we lose our estrogen, we're losing our progesterone, losing our testosterone. We are not able to handle the same foods that we used to be. But if we put on some muscle, we're much more able to regulate blood sugar, and it's more fun to eat. I'm sorry, I'm not a huge fan of fasting. I know you had Mindy Peltz. I love her because there's a way to do it for the girls, which is super important. But in my community, I find women are just eating not enough and exercising too much and fasting too much, and they're not feeding their muscles. If you want muscle to grow, you need to feed it. So putting on muscle is the exercise, as we do, and lifting and heavy lifting, and also, but be careful how you lift. And so, as a gerontologist, I'm really conscious of we can be killing ourselves at the gym. So I want either people to get a trainer, or you get a pair of Katsu bands, which I'm a huge fan of, and this is a partial blood flow restriction of your limbs to help us activate growth hormones, so we can lift with less but still get the same gains. I mean, am I talking Japanese?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the Katsu bands. Actually, they're a really great way to build muscle strength without hurting yourself is what you're talking about, trying to avoid injury. Like you said, a lot of people injure themselves trying to lift really heavy weights that they're just not balanced enough to lift, or their joints can't handle, but their muscles probably could, but there's an imbalance there. And so the Katsu bands are a great way to strengthen up before trying to use actual weight sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, good. I'm glad you're familiar with them because that is a fabulous hack. Few people know about. So
Yeah.
that's the part of the metabolic function, and the stress stuff. I meet a lot of people who are like, I don't like breath work. I don't like meditation. There's so many devices out there too, that you can buy that helps you train you into a more meditative state, helps get your
Mhm.
mind calm. I'm a big fan of Newcom. I don't know if you know what Newcom is. It's neuroacoustic software. I call it meditation made easy because it's just like boom. And
Yeah.
had some crazy results as I was getting a hip surgery, a hip replacement, and I used Newcom in order to regulate the autonomic nervous system because, as brave as I am, I was not looking forward towards surgery, and my body was waking me up, and I used it to actually calm the nervous system, and it worked fabulously.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to have the founder of Newcom on the podcast as well,
Jim
because
Pool.
yes,
Yeah.
Jim Poole. Yeah, he's a genius. And I met him a few years ago, and I'm a big believer in the technology. And it's exciting to hear that it helped you recover from your hip surgery as well.
Yeah, it did. Well, it did. It helped me
Oh,
because
prepare for it. Sorry.
what?
Did it help you prepare for the hip surgery or
It
help?
was more prepared, but I just kept going and I'm still doing it because it's like, wow, it's a it was a game changer for me. It was, I was waking up in the middle of the night worried, was
Mhm.
this going to hurt me? Am I going to have trauma the rest of my life if I wake up in the middle of the surgery? Like, what's going to happen? Painful. And actually I don't get anxiety, but I felt a pain in my chest. And I was like,
Mhm.
this is what all the women in my community are talking about because
Yeah.
I think this is anxiety. And of course you have it. And I started to do Newcom. I called the company. I was like, what do I do? And they said, do Newcom like 3 times a day. So that's what
Mhm.
I did. I had the best night, the night of my surgery. I woke up like, is this like not the best thing to happen? Was be ready for a surgery. And I was so chill. I was like, bring it on. I saw that Frankenstein table was the doors opened up in the operating room. And I was like, I'm ready for it. And
Right.
oddly enough, I woke up in the middle of the surgery.
Oh my gosh. You did.
Yeah, I
Wow.
did. And I
Did
was
you feel
chill, but it was,
anything?
yeah. Yeah, I was totally relaxed. I was like, oh, interesting. I hear a saw, I hear a hammer. I think they're actually cutting my bone now. But you're so in and out.
Yeah.
So many drugs in there going on. I don't know if maybe Newcom played a role, but I think it'd be pretty strong. I actually asked if I could wear them during the surgery, and they were like, no, you can't bring your phone in here. So but after I was absolutely, yeah, I woke up and I was like, did I wake up? They said, yeah, you did. We just put you right out. So, yeah, definitely kept going with Newcom, and I don't know. Everyone should at least try
Great
it. I
hack.
think it's really
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely. Yeah, this regulation of the autonomic nervous system versus your parasympathetic nervous system and your sympathetic nervous system, it's such a key skill to master. There's a lot of different ways to shift the balance towards parasympathetic, which right now we're so over sympathetic tone from just stressors in life and schedules and everything that, we rarely get into a parasympathetic state. And if you look at like our caveman ancestors, it was the opposite. They were mostly in parasympathetic, resting, relaxing, and they only got into sympathetic when they were like being attacked by a predator, right? So there's very few times they were in sympathetic states. Most of the time they were in parasympathetic. And we flipped that narrative in modern society, unfortunately. So mastering skills like breath work, there's even hacks like you mentioned Newcom, there's vagal stimulator devices. I don't know if you've heard of
Mhm.
Truvaga. There's a lot of different ways of mastering this transition between sympathetic and parasympathetic and finding multiple moments during your day to go into that parasympathetic mode that people need to have a toolbox full of them, I feel.
We need to. We really have no choice in that sense. You could have the best diet in the world, exercise, but if the
No.
stress is there, I'm sorry, it's gonna bite you when you least expect it, and it needs to be taken care of. And it's the one that everyone is the most resistant to in my community. Unless it's a supplement, then they can pop. But I think it just takes much more than that. And I find journaling works a lot with my community as well. It's simple, free, easy. It's like vomiting all your thoughts onto a piece of paper, and it can help sleep. It can help manage the stress. It gets your thoughts out, helps you clear your mind. I mean, I love the free stuff, and I love the hacks, the gadgets as well. Do whatever it takes. Getting outdoors, getting a bit of sunshine in your eyeballs, walking in nature, tree hugging, doing some forest bathing, whatever. Getting outdoors is a really, really fabulous way to also calm the nervous system. As long as you don't live in Ho Chi Minh or somewhere else where New York City, a big city. I mean, it's you got to go find a park and a little bit of nature to feel more relaxed.
Right, right. No, I'm a huge believer in that. So those are all great tips set for people that are not just going through menopause, but just in life in general. But they're especially important during menopause because all the positive things that you do counteract the negative effects of menopause completely with much more intensity, I would say. And the only negative effect is the lower levels of hormones that lead to physiological consequences, which you can actually fix that with hack number one that you had mentioned, the hormone replacement therapy. And so, there's been years and years of negative publicity around hormone replacement therapy. We know that all that research was misread and misguided, and we know that it's mostly benefits for almost everybody.
Yes, but we still need to get the word out.